Hey everyone, it's January 21st, 2024. I've actually lived here for 4 months today, and no outdoor video today with the freeze all over 2/3 of the country. Get into that in a bit. But about the dolphins powering through the influences. They serve as a great example of moving through these transformative times that we're in, challenging beyond words, these times. And like the dolphin, they have all kinds of dangers in the sea, and yet, they stay together as in their pods. They communicate, they telepath to each other, any dangers, everything, all their communication, of course. But, any dangers such as sharks, and they protect each other, they share the dangers and they protect each other. And yet, just like that dolphin you see in the beginning of the video, just sailing through, it's like they let it slide off their backs. They just power through the influences. I just felt like that little video I took was a metaphor for this, that we need to power through the influences, the challenging influences that are before us. And the dolphins are a great example of that. When a dolphin was giving birth to a baby, someone had, when I was on the Big Island in late 2019 to early 2020, I was told that, the pod stays together and protects the baby from any potential challenges. And some of those dolphins are like scouts, and they go out to check that there's no danger, and that includes, human interference, wanting to go and see the birth, because they would do that in the bays where it's safer. Just like the elephants, when a baby's being born, they gather in a herd and protect the mother and baby elephant being born. And we have so much to learn from nature. The dolphins alone, I feel like I could spend the rest of my life and barely understand the complexities of what's going on with them. They are absolutely magical beings. I call them the crystal beings. And they taught me so much about staying in my joy no matter what challenges I'm enduring. And it was a huge lesson in my life to stay in the joy, because otherwise the darkness wins. And I won't let that happen, and I hope you're not either. To always, no matter what is going on, to find the joy, to laugh, to stay as high vibe as possible despite, okay? Okay, so I had to stop the video because I wanted to change to turn off my screensaver, because it's distracting, it's moving all the time. And what I started to say, though, was here's a perfect example of joy within the challenges, okay? How the heavens can bring us joy. And I fix my computer and then look out the window, and a hawk just flew. 5th time, I'm going to tell you the other stories, but 5th time, hawk flew right by my window. Since I've moved here, I have no birds out here. But here's the example of joy within the challenge. I don't know, 3, 4, or 5, I can't remember, 3, 4, 5 days ago, I was on Telegram, in a chat room, spreading awareness about not fearing this. They're really pushing it. They're going to say it's so much worse than the previous. And, and I'm talking about all the connections with the letter, which I've talked about in past videos, okay? Especially the time in Florida where there was that big, in the sky, a very telling moment at the perfect time. But anyways, so I'm not having fun writing this, okay? But I'm doing my duty, okay, to spread awareness. And then just as I'm finishing, the fourth hawk came for a visit. And here's a picture when it landed on my little side fence. And then it turned around and showed much more light, right? And not only that, but notice the head of that hawk. Have you ever seen a purely white-headed hawk? I mean, they usually have speckles of white or feathers, some white feathers, but not the whole head. At least I've never seen it before. But it felt heaven sent. And, I always think of Michael whenever I see a hawk and eagle, and actually this looked like an eagle too. But it was a definite hawk. And as I mentioned before, where I live, Arkansas is full of amazing nature, but where I happen to live, I'm telling you, I'm really challenged because I love nature so much. And there's just grass and a fence in a little patio in my backyard, and I just put one outdoor plant. That's it. And that's it. So I have not seen one bird land except for a hawk. Well, today's 5 times. And it's always at profound moments. When I'm talking about Archangel Michael, the hawk flies and lands on my fence. Or on my birthday, it flew right in front of my sliding door here. And I work here, I face the window all day looking for, I put a bird feeder up right away because I went, no birds. It's unbelievable. I've never experienced anything like that. I mean, 3.5 months I've had that bird feeder up and not one bird. And yet the hawks at the most auspicious times, okay? And then this morning, I swear, you guys, I can't prove this one. I don't have a picture of this one, but I was, just an hour or two ago, I was looking out the window and I was thinking about what I want to say. And when I was getting to the point about the hawk, okay, and about how birds never land here on the grass or on the fence or anything, a little bird landed on my fence right then. And I'm telling you, there's like in my whole little subdivision here, there's no birds. I mean, you see them flying way above, but they don't land here because there's no protection. There's no trees, nothing. Or barely one tree per in the front lot of every home, and that's it, every duplex. So, I mean, it's just like, this happens because they know I'm going to share it with you. You know, they know I'm going to make this video. I'm going to share with you these things to show you just how real it is when, and I'm sure you have your own experiences of the magic and miracles and synchronicities. But this is definitely meant to be shared, and everything is so timely and incredible. All right, you guys, it's the next day, January 22nd, and I can't believe what's going on. On that fence, well, they're not there now, but there were 3 little birds, and on the rooftops, about 5 birds that I can see. Nothing like this in 4 months. And here when I'm creating this video, it's unbelievable. I know there's more that I need to understand about this, but it's very exciting. So getting back to in the sky, we're all experiencing in much of America this freeze. It's no coincidence that for many, many days prior, we were bombarded with, here's just some examples from my point of view in this state. But it's been happening all over the world. It's been absolutely the worst ever collectively from all of my research and what I can see and what I'm experiencing here. Because when I first moved here, I hardly saw anything, and now it's crazy. And then what a coincidence, the weather, right? What a coincidence that, you know, on one side of Florida, on the west coast, they're experiencing a drought, and on the east coast, you know, the most rain ever on record for both, you know, the same time. And it's not a very wide state. You know, all these things, they're so that we buy into their we have to keep making these connections. It's absolutely vital, and to spread the word. Can you imagine if we all knew the actual truth about what was going on in 2020? We wouldn't have experienced what we've gone through as a collective. There's no way. If we all knew and we shared the truth, you know. But people are awakening to this. We've all been manipulated. All of us have been played. There's not one of us that hasn't. There's so much deception. And I always admit freely, I did think this then, but now I think this, you know. But, you know, right after the millennium, I heard about what's going on in the skies, and I just couldn't believe that our would do that. No way, you know, and then saw more and more proof and the science behind it, and people taking collections of the soil and their water, and you know, there's just no, they even admit it. So I mean, at this point, it's fruitless to try and argue this with people. If they don't see it by now, you plant seeds, and then you just move on. You know, you do the best you can. There's some people that will never want to see the truth, never. And you just have to, you know, after you try, then just move on, you know. So it's no coincidence that we're experiencing this crazy weather, you know. It's truly amazing that as we navigate through these times, how much we're being helped. and it just can keep us going, keep us going strong and power through. For instance, here's a joyful story. This one morning, I don't eat out at restaurants hardly anymore because it's hard enough to just know what to buy without even organic food being messed with. And there's so much. I hope everyone watching knows what is going on with the food. And again, we just have to make the best choices we can. We're never going to know everything. Some of these things have been going on for years and we didn't know about it. So we just do the best we can and bring God into it and just pray over our food and water, as I've said before. But this one day I felt to go to this one restaurant, okay? And it was right by the health food store, and I thought I'd just go there, and I think it was guided, actually. Sometimes I don't know what's me and what's divine influence, but I had a wonderful breakfast there, and I was just getting my money out to pay, and my waiter just flew over to my table and took my check right away. And I thought, maybe he forgot to add the coffee or something. I don't know. Whatever. And then a couple minutes later, he came back and he said, that couple that was sitting over there, well, they bought your breakfast. Oh, I was literally crying in front of the waiter. It touched me so deeply. I've done that for others, but I never had, I've had been treated with coffee or things like that. Never a whole meal. I was so touched by that, So right away I put the tip on the table and I went running out to see if I could go thank them. And I couldn't find them. They had already left. So I went to my car, and I don't know how I didn't notice this going in, but in front of my car was a chalk drawing, and this is what it said. God is good. Actually, God is so great. I don't know why it's commonly said God is good. God is so great. And I just felt like God was behind that. And then I remembered that the morning before I got a message from above that, because I had been going, this was mid-November, and it was a really, really extremely rough couple of weeks for me. And I got a divine message that said, heaven's loving on you, people are loving on you, and just, enjoy it, allow it, kind of thing, something like that. And then I realized that just the day before the breakfast, and after I got that message, I didn't put it together, but this new friend here, I was at her house and she was just loving on me and like giving me things. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. And then, the free breakfast and God is the good chalk drawing. I'm like, oh my gosh. So do you see like that, how these things can just fill you? And when you expect that connection and connect, with those positive divine influences, it's incredible. So then it was almost a month later, and around mid-December, when I was guided to go again. And I thought, wow, okay. So I go to the restaurant, and as I'm pulling into the parking lot, this happens often where I'm whispered to where to park, because every time I follow that, which is always, every single time something happens, like either I meet someone, or like when I get out of my car, there's a quarter or a coin on the ground, or the license plate. This happens a lot, that either right next to me, or when I come back out to my car, like some incredible personalized license plate message or a bumper sticker or something, just fulfills me, right? It's a message of whatever. And this time I'm guided to park there, and it was like right where I parked last time, maybe a space or two off. and where the God is good chalk drawing was. And I couldn't believe the license plate next to me as I'm pulling in, right next to me. Miracle. That's the most common Arkansas license plate with a diamond, and it says Miracle. So I knew something more was up, and I go into the restaurant, and it's really a loud restaurant, just very busy. And I said, to the hostess, could I please sit in that little back room if there's any space, just a little table? And she said, oh yeah, no problem. So she takes me there, and I just sit down and get my coffee, and right away, a group of 8 high school boys come and sit right at the 2 tables next to me. But they were so adorable, and they were having so much fun. It was all great. But at one point, the guy that's sitting at the head of the table just, got up suddenly, and he, wailed his arms and knocked over his water cup, and the water went all over the 2 tables. And so right away, being the mom I am, the mom type, I got my napkins and, giving it to him. And I said, you know what? I said, this is actually a good sign. Trust me, I've seen it in my life. And if you've read I Can See Clearly Now, I talk about all the spilling water, any liquids, the signs that I had that would pan out something miraculous happening right after it happened all the time. And I share that with a lot of people, but sharing it with this group of high schoolers, they were mildly interested. But I tied the water miracle, to me, it's always miraculous, with the license plate, the word miracle. I mean, that is the only license plate, personalized license plate with the word miracle that it has an Arkansas plate in the whole state. Like, really, it's unbelievable. So it's like, these are the things that just keep, when you stay really connected, you're connecting with God, walking with God, it's just incredible, And I still have my really bad days, trust me, but it's like, no matter what, I'm always lifted up, So I always listen to those whispers. Now, all whispers aren't from the divine. They're not all benevolent. They're not from our angels, not all of them. Sadly, we are being infiltrated more and more, especially these days, with negative influences. We can hear whispers from the dark side, and so that they influence us with whatever, poor decisions, saying the wrong thing. You could be in a conversation with someone and something blurts out, and sometimes if it's from an angel, it's a benefit, it benefits the other person, but if it's not, it can do the opposite, and you'll say, gee, why did I even say that? Like, that didn't even sound like me, But we can get those whispers, and that's why we have to keep our vibrations high so that we don't go there. And the higher your vibe is, the less they're able to. But we have to be careful with who we spend time with. Who we are having intimate relations with. There can be an exchange, and there's all kinds of ways that the darkness can get in. I know from personal experience when I had a concussion when I was in Europe, and oh boy, did that affect me. And I learned that on my own, that concussions, it's like an opening in the, right? That they can get in. They can get in all kinds of different ways. So, but here's the thing, everyone, we can decree them out of us. We can use our divine authority to rid of any influence, dark influence that manages to, not just with our thoughts, messing with us, but even in our physical bodies where they can cause mayhem. We don't have to accept that at all. We can do it ourselves. We can ask for help. There's people who do this for a living. They just decree beings, dark beings, out of people's bodies and auric fields, etc. So again, being a Pollyanna, I don't ever like to go there, never wanted to go there, and hardly ever did go there many years ago. But I do remember looking back at, like, in the mid-70s when there was a show called The Jeffersons, a comedy that I would watch. Maybe some of you remember that, but the main character would often say, and every time, like, it would make me cringe. I liked the show, but I almost didn't watch it because at every time that would bother me, I rejected it. I just, but now it's like facing the fact that this is taking over the world now. It's been quiet for not just years and decades, but eons of time. And now it's all coming out. It's all coming out. And we need to stay above it and just flick it off, just like the dolphin in the water. Just let it slide off. And be aware, again, being aware but not owning it. We are changing this world. The positive changes that are happening in this world are not because we're just working on ourselves and clearing our ancestral pasts and our shadow selves. And all that. No, that's what the controlled opposition wants you to believe. We need to face it. We need to face it because, for one thing, facing truth saves lives, and then spreading that truth saves lives. I mean, if those wonderful doctors that have done so much and risked so much to tell us the truth about what's going on. I mean, I knew even before that this was all created, but I didn't know the details. I've learned so much from these amazing, heroic doctors and medical professionals that, would no longer be a part of that system that's bringing humanity down through mess with health. And so the biggest changes are because people are acknowledging the truth and not consenting and spreading awareness and saying no more. But it is a fine line. We have to keep our vibrations high when doing that. Honestly, again, I don't like to talk about things. I have no joy in doing that, except knowing that I'm doing what I need to do, and as you are too, fellow truthers and warriors. But I'm speaking to those who one other thing I want to say is that we can also be influenced in our sleep. We can be as high vibe as possible during the day and we're having a fine day and staying positive, whatever. But in our sleep, we're vulnerable. I did create a video that I was really happy with about the Merkaba, and that's one of the 3 years worth of videos that were taken down just like that. So unfortunately, I don't have that to share anymore. But what I was saying, we have to call for protection for while we sleep, calling on God, Christ, Archangel Michael, of course. And I was talking about the Merkaba, imagining the Merkaba around you. Because, a couple things that are coming to mind now. One is that, like, a friend of mine, she wrote me very candidly. It shocked me, but I always want the truth, so it's okay. But she said I think it was in her lucid sleep, she heard Mary, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't good, like something bad was going to happen to me. And I immediately knew that it was influence. And I told her, and she was very receptive. She thinks that's what it was, So it's just like I didn't give it energy. And I don't even want to say it now, but I'm telling you because I'm strong in my convictions and belief and protection over me, that I'm not worried about it, So another thing I've noticed from friends that have shared, like one person is having a dream about, say, a spouse that, they're upset with them, and then they're having wonderful dreams about the spouse, like really positive, and it's like, so they compare notes, and it's like, why is this? It's because it can be influenced. They're targeting all kinds of relationships to bring us down, so we can be influenced, not to be scared of it. Again, just like me being told, like, the worst thing, it didn't faze me because I knew what was behind it, So just be aware and take things with a grain of salt, and know that it's not always about the truth. And dreams are so wide open to interpretation on top of it. But anyways, that needed to be said. And thank you so much for listening. Be in joy no matter what's going on while facing reality. Noah didn't ignore reality. Noah didn't not warn people. He warned people. So we have to be real and listen to our hearts before anything, before me. This is my perception, this is my understanding. I live it through every single day, especially since Archangel Michael gave the sword mission. It's very clear cut to me. This is how I feel, and I hope you'll take it, in account.